Loyalty to whiteness is treason to humanity. I was born white on June 1st, 1967. Grew up in a highly segregated city. Moved to an overwhelmingly small white town. Educated in mostly white institutions. I had very little to no control over any of these things, and then I took some action. I moved away, became a teacher, listened to those who were not white, traveled, listened, traveled, read, listened, traveled, read again, and acted. We are random beings. Yet many of us born into whiteness defend it like somehow we chose to be white. I don't feel guilty in the least for being born into such randomness. Therefore, I don't feel obligated to defend it. It allows me to look at things with a more rational, objective lens, like seeing that immense privilege comes to some via randomness. The benefit of the doubt comes with such randomness, and apparently the need to defend lunacy also comes from such randomness. So, year after year, decade after decade, and century after century, when I see, hear, and read about the overwhelming white response to race relations in this country, I pause and reflect upon the irrationality of what whiteness has wrought upon white folks. In short, many of us take every criticism personally and make the situation about us. In many cases, it's our default mechanism, so we're not always aware of it. That's what whiteness does over time. It infiltrates our psyche, it pierces our spirit, it allows us to cannibalize our rational behavior. Whiteness is a catastrophe for those born into it, and catastrophic for those who must brunt the burden of such clueless behavior. It is arguably the most devastating pandemic to infect the human species outside of maybe patriarchy and civilization, but that's another set of videos for another time. This isn't about you until you determine it is, and then that's on you. In other words, rational responsibility comes only when you stop feeling every criticism is directly pointed at you. This helps us to better see the entire picture of systemic injustice. Then, one can see the landscape covered in the dysfunction of whiteness and not feel compelled to make it all about you and your personal experience. So this isn't about your dead great-grandparents and how they came from XYZ with nothing and made something of themselves. This isn't about how you felt hatred because some black or brown kids made fun of you or beat you up. This isn't about how you're the furthest thing from being a racist. This is about seeing that with random circumstances comes privilege and therefore responsibility, whether we like it or not. Instead of always deflecting and pointing out personal responsibility to those outside of whiteness, maybe we should take our own advice. What are you doing to better understand systemic injustice? You know the difference between personal prejudices and systemic injustice. And you connect how implicit bias can lead to personal prejudices and eventually into systemic injustice. In other words, how do our attitudes reflect our institutions and larger systems? We have a dysfunctional loyalty to the fabrication of whiteness. The only way we break it is by not making it always about us and what we believe we know to be true, but instead valuing the experiences of those who are not randomly born into the privilege of whiteness. It begins with listening, it continues by believing the experiences of those sharing, and it gains traction by you moving beyond the narrative whiteness has instilled in you.